I'm so excited to have Bonnie back from Art Impressions, and she is going to show us more watercolor magic.
It's so fun. I mean, who can't be addicted to watercolor, especially when you've got this alphabet set? I'm going to show you ways to use this so that you can create your own personal messages.
Own personal messages, and we have to say,
come play with us.
Well, this is the brand new serif lettering alphabet set, and from Art Impressions. Now, it's got Bible journaling up here, but we're not going to be doing that today.
That's right, but it is really versatile, and so letters are really nice for journaling, but they're also really nice for cards too. So you can create your own message just by putting the letters together, and we can incorporate this into watercolor. So super fun. These letters are they're sized specifically for that. They've got the little serifs on here, so they make them a little fancier with this extra detail.
1.25 inches tall.
Yes, they are. And the width of the lines is also works really well with watercolor. So all those things we take into consideration.
Now, if you're not quite sure what a serif is, it's those little extra pieces on the letters. They're not just straight, but they have the little crossbar at the top and the G and the little floopy there, right there. Floopy might be something you want to write down.
Because that's a word.
Yeah, right. So there you go, all of them. And you've got exclamation points and things too, and the apostrophe. So that's what we're going to start with.
That's right.
Okay.
We're going to create a little card. This one, in this case, is Christmas. And so we're going to add some detail to it. We're going to do it on the watercolor paper, just like we do all of our projects.
Now this one actually comes with the stamp set, so it's just another way that you can do.
That's right.
Do it. So you can do more than 4 letters too.
Yes, you can. You can create whatever message you want. So whatever holiday too. So I've started out, just for time's sake, I've stamped 3 letters on here. I'm going to just show you how to ink the final one. So this message is Noel for Christmas.
Okay.
And we're going to ink it in 2 colors. So we're going to ink it in sepia and pine green. And use the side. You know, always use the side of your marker.
Now, when you're doing 2 colors, do you always do the darker color first, or is there anything?
There is, yes, there is something to that. Yes, it does matter which color you end with, and that's going to be the most prominent color. And actually the sepia is really just sort of a 3-dimensional color that kind of cements everything down. So that's really what makes it look like it's 3-dimensional.
And I think it's your personal favorite too.
It is.
Yes, yes.
You can, I don't go anywhere without my sepia pen. So it is really, really important. You can't make something look realistic without that 3-dimensional color that kind of looks like dirt.
Okay.
So it needs to either start the project or be in the project somehow.
Okay.
Mixed onto the stamp or by itself.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, so we've done the green secondary, so it's going to be the most prominent color. And you're going to stamp it on the watercolor paper, and you can see here that I've added vines and things all around it. So we're not going to add any water yet. We're going to do that later. And we're going to start out with the,
now, do I see
the vines.
Lines drawn to make it straight?
You know, I am usually eyeballing everything.
Yeah.
I'm not that detailed, but you certainly can do that. Or you can use your positioner. You can use your positioner and position it too. So by the time we get all the vines and everything on here, honestly, you're not even going to notice.
Right.
And I'm all about fast and easy.
I know.
Let's do it fast and easy.
Now you're going to be using a couple of sets.
That's right.
To do your decorating. Right. And these are 2 of them, right?
Yes, these are 2 of them. So out of this one, we're going to use this little flower here, little bloom. We're going to use it as berries.
Okay.
Everything is really versatile, so super easy to do. And we're going to use this little vine right here. Okay. So remember, you're buying these stamps as a collection, and when you buy something new, you use it with things that you already have.
Excellent.
Yep, everything is going to work together. So I'm going to use a little fir bough, and I'm going to ink this one up. And I'm using the pine green. So don't be afraid to turn your paper so that you can get a good position to stamp. And I'm going to ink these things in here a few times.
I was going to say, you're back to your multiple
stamping.
I'm
back to multiple stamping, exactly. So we want to get these in here a bunch because this is what makes things look 3-dimensional. And now see, I've turned my stamp upside down and I'm going the other way.
I'm going to scoot this up a little bit.
Keep me in the screen because I'm so busy stamping that I might be off the screen. So just keep moving my paper.
Okay.
So we're just going to keep, and you know, this is the easiest, quickest thing, don't ever stress out about especially your first and second steps, because it looks like a mess. It always does. But I promise you, it will come together. So be patient and don't panic and give up at this stage.
So much of creativity and teaching is trust.
It is, I know, seriously. And we're so hard on ourselves, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We're so hard on ourselves.
So stop it.
Stop doing that and just have fun with this. It's the funnest thing to do. Fun to do with kids, fun to do with all ages, because it is so simple.
I'm thinking of stamping Penelope on a card.
There you go. That would be a rollout card. You'd have to roll that up.
Maybe we'll just go with fun or joy or something.
Okay, so I've gotten these fir boughs in, and you can see they're really random. I just want to make sure that I'm stamping it in there 2 or 3 times so that I get that dark to light.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm going to switch greens, and I'm going to go back in now with that little vine. Whoops, not that one. With this one. And we're going to come back in here now with this little detail.
And you're still with the same green.
I've changed greens, so this is the light green now. This is the olive green. And I'm just adding a few more things in here.
Oh.
And then we'll go back and we'll add water to all of this. And I'm not necessarily inking the whole stem every time. You can, but you know, when you change it up and just ink parts of the stamp, it also changes the image. So you can see that this has a long stem on here.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't need that entire thing. So that's the nice thing about working with markers. Is that you can ink this part of the stamp that you want.
Gotcha. And that's not something I don't think we would necessarily think of doing.
Right. We do
but
tend
you do
to
it often,
yes,
don't you?
often. And most of the time, I'd probably say I don't use the majority of the stamp. I don't use the entire thing. I just use bits and pieces.
Says the woman who designed the stamp.
That's right.
And before you go to the next one, I want to get really close in one section.
Yeah, and you can see what a mess it looks like. I mean, this, let's be real. This really does look like a mess, but I promise you it will all come together.
I would never say that to anything you've done.
I know, but you would secretly think it. I know. It does look like a mess, but it will come together. So we're going to now start adding water to it.
Okay.
So let me grab my water and just bring this over, dip my brush.
Water and pinch.
And pinch it off. So pinch the brush off until it's flat. And let's start with our pine boughs, and we're just going to jump our brush around. What you want to avoid is a stroke. So we don't want to paint anything. We're not doing this.
You're dabbing.
We're just dabbing, and make sure your hand is flat on the table.
Okay.
And you're dabbing. Now you're not confined to the area just of the stamp, so you can go outside of the stamp too. That's allowed.
Wow.
And just kind of work your way over. Take your time. This is meant to be fun and therapeutic in these crazy times that we're in right now. So take your time and just blend this out. We don't want to lose the integrity of the image, so we want to still see that it's a pine bough, so don't blend the whole thing out.
So just dab.
Just dab.
Spots.
Yep. Yes, just dab.
Okay.
And you can see my brush is pretty dry.
But that does spread it a bit.
It does. It softens that image and creates this watercolor effect, and these stamps are created to do this. They're made to give you this effect. You just have to follow the rules.
Well, and almost don't overwork it.
Don't overwork it. Oh, exactly. That's probably the most common mistake, is to overwork things.
So stop.
So stop doing that. Okay, so you can see it's starting to come together a little bit here.
I do.
So let's go on, dip our brush now, and let's go on to the other vines. And we're just going to soften these the same. So just, you don't have to go on every leaf. You're just jumping your brush around. Okay. You can, if you want to. But really, you're just softening where you've just stamped.
Okay.
So really, really easy to do.
Neat.
Okay, so we are making progress here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the lines from the letters and we're going to drag it to the outside.
To the outside.
We're kind of creating a halo effect because we want these letters to kind of pop out. We want them to kind of look like they're three-dimensional. So we're pulling the color to the background.
Wow.
And it's also going to soften those lines. See how that color comes out, but not too much color?
It does.
Because the lines are thin. And the lines are thin so that the color isn't too dark.
So that was part of your design?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Because the image is created with the lines that are, with the color that's in the lines. That's what creates the image. So if the lines are too thick, there's too much color. If they're too thin, not enough color.
Especially as you add water.
That's right, as you add water, exactly. That's exactly right. So we want the right amount of color to come out of the lines.
And you did it after you did the foliage, so
yes.
the foliage is more prominent.
Yes, the foliage is more prominent. I kind of wanted those lines to blend in a little bit. And you can see they've almost disappeared where these, where the fir boughs are. And you can, you know, when you go to stamp this, if that really bugs you that you can see any of the lines under here, you can take that pencil eraser, like we did in the first project, and erase some of these lines. So you can come in with your fir boughs and not have that issue. Okay? Yes. So now it's starting to look like a watercolor, huh?
It is.
So let's grab our palette and we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to put in a splash of color, and we're going to do that with your craft sheet or your palette, either one. And dip your brush in water now and just take a little of this color and just randomly brush it in. This is the number 15. I'm sorry, number 15. This is the warm green. So we're just putting in a little splash of color in the background. And this is going to give us even more foliage depth. So
have you used 3 greens?
2 greens.
2 greens in the sepia.
2 greens in the sepia, but the most prominent one are the fir boughs. So that was the cool green.
Okay.
And now we're going to add some blue. So we're going to take that country blue, that steel blue, and we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to add just a little splash of color in the background. Just a little bit. I am doing this a lot now. I'm doing this a lot because I think it really adds a lot to the image and a lot of dimension.
So it's so subtle.
It's so subtle. And what we're going for is this watercolor image. We don't want anyone to know that it is stamped. That is a secret. And I think that doing all these little tips and tricks makes a big difference to reach that goal. Okay, and now what I would do at this stage is I would come around here and really soften these areas. So means just water.
Okay.
Just dip your brush in plain water.
Now every time you're dipping your brush, you're still pinching it off.
Yes, every time. Okay. So your hands are going to get really inky, and that's just part of the technique. There's nothing we can do about that because you have to feel how much water is on your brush. So again, I'm just using water and I'm just softening this area on the outside.
Everything is so subtly done.
It's so soft, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
So now one more step on the letters, and we're going to take some of this blue now, and we're going to make a dark stripe on one side. Just on one side. And that, again, is going to create the illusion that the letter is sort of popping up. Just a little thing, but it really makes a lot of difference. So again, on one side, you can choose either side. Doesn't matter what side you choose.
You just want to be the same.
That's right. You want to be the same. And, you know, avoid these areas where the boughs are. So you're just going to put it on the open areas. So just on the side. And it creates this 3-dimensional image.
Okay, yeah.
So we're starting to see more of a watercolor. So we need to add some color in here. We've got a lot of green going on.
Yep.
So let's add some color. We're going to do that with the blue. And this is a little tiny stamp of dots. Very, very tiny. And we're going to walk it in a circle. So we're going to just walk it in a very tight little circle. And stay to the areas that are pretty light. You know, where we haven't added a lot of color.
Okay.
Because it's going to show up way better there.
So you're not doing it on the foliage?
No, unless you came in with maybe with a really dark purple or a dark red, you know, that would show up over the top of that. So you want to make sure that you're stamping this where it can be seen.
And we're going to want to get in really close to see that too. Good. Thank you, Houston.
So now we've got our flowers in here. Yeah. So we're going to add some water to it because we stamp and add water. And that's the process.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. And you know what? After you do it a billion times, you get really good at it.
And I bet it becomes automatic.
It does. It really does.
Nice.
Okay, so now let's add some detail in here. We're going to do that with that little flower that looks like little berries. And we're just going to ink these in 2 colors. So the end, so the little berries.
So that's with the persimmon?
That's with the persimmon.
Okay. Oh.
And then we're going to come back in now with the vine.
Okay, so the stem is the green.
The stem,
Okay.
And you can stamp that in there a couple of times and go back in.
Scoot it down.
Am I off the?
Just a little bit.
Off the screen here. And then go back in again and just ink it in 2 colors. It's so fun making these things, just the funnest thing. And you know, you can go down. So let's bring some down like this. Let's ink it again.
Scoot it.
And turn your page, you know, so that you can get a good angle to stamp.
So just those 2 colors.
Just 2 colors, and you can put as much of this in as you like. You can also just ink a couple of these and just tap it in by themselves.
So it does. They kind of extend out.
They kind of extend, right? And let's just do a couple more in here. The red is just so pretty, huh?
Yeah, the E hadn't gotten its own attention.
It didn't have enough attention on the E, for sure.
Yeah, I think the
and
O
I think
is a little,
O.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a little lonely.
A little wanting there.
Okay, I think we've got enough red. So we can dip our brush now and just touch it.
So again, always going back and softening.
Always softening. And don't do anything with the stem. We want that really delicate.
So just the red part.
Just the red part. Yep.
And it's just to soften it.
It's just softening. You can see the accent color just pops everything out.
Yeah, it does.
And you can go back over this too with your fine tip if you really want these little berries to be dark. So the red, you know, has a fine tip. So you can do that as well.
Okay.
And then always
sign
and date.
So for Christmas, for Bible journaling,
absolutely,
for cards, for lots and lots of things. Nice to have the multiple examples. I appreciate having that.
Right.
So
there's so many things that we can do. We could film for hours.
We could, and you could add a bird if you wanted to. So yes,
you could. You could add some. You could add some glitter to this. You can add some white from a gel pen. You can just take some little dots and just make a few little dots in here.
It's so much less is more.
It is.
Just amazing.
It is, and you can always add little detail. So the sky's the limit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Bonnie.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.